Thank you and good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. One of the greatest things about being mayor for 2 months is you get a chance to take credit for everybody else's work. So, Council President, Middletons, the Williamsons, the home team, thank you for all you've done to make this project come about and be possible. Mary talked about my 8 years of education at Our Lady of Mount Carmel under the Sisters of Mercy. And at Vatican II had just happened, so all of our sisters were younger women in a different type of habit than we were used to. It was less, you could see more. And they were younger, and they were on the altar playing guitars where they were never allowed to be on the altar before. And we had female altar servers, and there was a whole different change in view and attitude about the Catholic Church back then. But I didn't learn as much as I should have learned. In those 8 years under the Sisters of Mercy and in those 4 years under the great Jesuits. Because when I started my career in 1992, she had to take me back to school again. Because I will make my confession that I was one of those people who felt and looked at homelessness as something that we shouldn't see, something that should be out of sight. And the thing that Sister retaught me was that every one of those individuals who find themselves in that homeless situation is a human being with a story. And if you understand their story, you'll understand how they got where they are. And in many, many cases, it's not their own fault. It's something that happened to them in their life that they could not recover from. But they're still human beings and they still have a story. And a lot of the stories involve being veterans. A lot of the stories involve being grandmoms. And a lot of stories involve being immigrants. And Penny, just smile that smile, please, because it is the most encouraging smile you could ever imagine. As you were making your comments and telling your story, I couldn't help but think back 160 or 170 years ago in this country, when people who I came from, the Irish in this country, were starved out of their country. 2 million people died, 2 million people emigrated, and they came to a country, crawled off coffin ships onto the dock, without documents, by the way. We didn't have any papers. We just had what we could carry with us. And I think about the immigrant stories of you and the people that are coming to this country now, and I recognize the need to tell my folks all the time, because some of my folks don't get it, even though they've been here. They've been against immigration ever since they got here, which is an odd thing to be. To explain to them that this is what this country is about. It's about a progression of folks who come. Some came in chains. Some were dragged across the ocean from Africa, and we understand that story, and we need to understand that story more, because that story is not told enough and it's not understood enough. And you can clap for that. And we have those who have come here because they were forced to come here because of circumstances. And we need to understand that we need to be human towards each other. We need to be empathetic. We need to be a person for others. We need to be helpful. And Mary says all the time, and I totally believe this, is that no one's home until we're all home. And I want to thank her for continuing to teach me that all the time. I finally got it. I can pass the exam now. It's all in here, and it's all in here. So whatever I can do in the ongoing years of this administration to make these projects come about, to change lives for people, to make people feel dignity and worth again, and to get them out of dangerous situations where they're living outdoors, living in tents, living by the river, living by railroad tracks, living in places that is not safe for them, and worse yet, not safe for their children, because their children are there too. There's nothing more desperate, and I had the opportunity, I'll close with this. I had the opportunity I was invited to the White House, which I'm an Obama fan. I was an Obama fan from day one, and I was so excited, but I only had a +1. And I have 2 kids, so I can't take any of them. And my Keisha Witherspoon on my staff suggested a young man that we had run into recently who was living in a homeless shelter. His name is Tylen. And he had been formerly living in his car with his mom and his aunt. And now they were in a shelter, in a safe place, not home, but a safe place. And she said, why don't you take him? And it was an interesting process, because we took the train, the Amtrak train down, as Congressman Fattah does all the time. He had never been on a train before. He didn't have much to say to me. He just kind of took it all in. And when we got through security and we got into the White House, he just blossomed. He ran, we were like little kids running from Christmas tree to Christmas tree. And he said, can I have some cookies? I said, knock yourself out, you're in the White House. And he was pounding some cookies, man. But the point is, and then he had an opportunity. We were nice enough. The White House staff moved us to the front of the line where they could get a chance. And the President of the United States greeted Tylen, a homeless boy from South Philadelphia. And it was one of the most poignant moments in my life. And we had that picture of him shaking. He also shook hands with the First Lady, too, which was awesome. But we have the picture of him and the President talking to each other, and we had a frame for his mother. And I'm hoping that he understands that with our help and with our consistent help for him and his family, he can someday be President of the United States himself. So thank you.